Today we are going to talk about how to plant tomato seedlings. There are several important steps which you need to be aware of to get an amazing harvest. Before watching this video, don't forget that recently I also made a video about how to prepare those seedlings for planting. There are three main important steps which I described in details in the video that you can now see. That also is important to watch, and you can find it in the description to this video and in the first comment. So let's start planting our tomato seedlings. So the first step is to find the place for tomatoes. They need quite a lot of sun, 6, 8, 12 hours a day of sun. However, tomatoes are not growing well if the temperatures are above 30 degrees Celsius. So then you need to also make sure that you have an opportunity to cover them where you plant them, or that the temperatures are not rising that high. So with this, the second step is to prepare the place where you are going to plant tomatoes. So when you plant tomatoes, you need to ensure that there is difference of at least 30, 40, even 50 centimeters between the tomato plants in one row, depending on what type of tomatoes you are growing. And if you plant several rows, which I do not recommend, because for example diseases or pests would be very easily able to spread through the tomatoes, so I would recommend to plant them in several rows with other plants in between of them. But if you are planting them together, then the distance should be also quite large. I would say at least 80-90 centimeters between the rows, to ensure that your tomato plants have an area where they can feed, and ensure that all nutrients are they're getting all the nutrients that they need.
Once you decide where you are going to plant your tomatoes, start digging the hole to plant your seedlings. It needs to be quite large, so that there is not only space for your tomatoes, but also for nutrition for them. And you should put some long-term and short-term nutrition. So in this situation, even though I have a good soil, I still want to put additional nutrition. I recommend to make the hole at least 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters, so you have enough space for everything. First I put long-term nutrition, which is some organic dry leaves, pieces of branches, and some effective microorganisms on the top to make it digest faster. The microorganisms are not that necessary if you have good soil activity. It's just to speed up the process. If you don't have, just put some organics that you have, add some soil and mix it together to start the process of converting it to nutrition. In terms of the short-term nutrition, I am adding some homemade compost, so you have all the necessary micro and macro minerals, and also some ash. My soil is slightly acidic, so adding ash is fine, but if you have alkaline soils, don't add it. Now this will provide important micronutrients, for example, potassium, phosphorus and calcium. Let's go again through this process, just to say that there are no golden rules. You can vary. For example, in this one, I will not put all the ingredients, but the plants would be still fine. So look, I'm putting some long-term nutrition here without microorganisms, but I am adding some soil and mixing it together again. And on the top again, some homemade compost, so that you already have those necessary macro and micronutrients, and also microorganisms for the plants. So again, think what you have, not necessarily to buy anything very expensive, but try to ensure that whatever you have, you put for tomatoes. For example, if you don't have ash now, don't put it. You can add it a little bit later as a solution or even as a spray. I'm going to make a video about it. So don't spend too much time thinking what to add. Now, once you make your mix, you can start planting your tomato seedlings. I mentioned the video about how to prepare them, and one of the important steps is to water it before, so that it's easy to remove it from the pot without damaging the roots, like here. And then when you plant, just make sure that you plant it a little bit deeper than in the pots, so then the roots are deeper in soil, and then they can get to levels of better humidity and be more resistant to droughts. So here it is, 2 tomato plants are done. The next step is to mulch them, which is a very important step not everybody is doing. Mulching is extremely important, especially for the newly planted seedlings. It makes sure that soil can store water for longer, that it also supplies nutrition, and so on. I do not have much mulching right now, so I'm just mulching right next to it and watering on the top of the mulch. It's very important so that the pieces of soil drops don't go to the plant to spread the diseases. But in a few days I will get more mulch and mulch it in a proper layer of about 10 centimeters all over the plants. Unfortunately, I cannot show it to you right now. At this point, it's very important to ensure that you water your tomato plants well, so that you get soil particles onto the roots, and because of this, they will get used to their new place of growing faster and produce harvest faster with less stress. Some people step to make the soil more ramped. However, don't do it because you will damage your roots. So the next step is to spray them to ensure that they overcome stress better. What I do is a solution that contains organic biofungicides to prevent diseases, also in bioinsecticides to prevent pests, and also nutrition, which is a compost extract with all necessary macro and micronutrients, and also amino acids to help them overcome the stress. And of course, some polymer to ensure that they stick to tomatoes better. When you spray, don't forget that you need to spray all over, especially bottom side of leaves, which harbors many pests and diseases. And just to emphasize, I only use organic preparations which are based on microorganisms, because there is no need to use otherwise. Now I am also adding some nitrogen contained complex fertilizer that I make absolutely free at home, and you can see now the link on how to make it. Super easy, super free, and it does helps the tomatoes to get instant nutrition, especially when they need it in the first days and weeks after planting. I also add a little bit more water to ensure that this solution goes deeper in the soil. To recap, when planting tomatoes, you have to ensure that you have enough nutrition for them for different stages of their developments. When you spray them with the solution, you give the necessary nutrients that will be digested immediately through the leaves, amino acids to support them overcome the stress, and also prevent diseases, fungicides and insecticides to prevent pests. Then you have nutrition which you add in this solution of organic fertilizer, and then you have a little bit more longer term solution which you put as compost, as ash, and even way longer feeding, which is all your organic matter that needs to be decomposted before it becomes available for the plant to be fed. So here they are, looking good, but not ideal because there is not enough mulch yet. And also you see that some leaves are on the soil, which is also not optimal because the disease can spread easily to the plant. I will make another video. Don't subscribe. Do subscribe in order not to miss it, about how to prune tomatoes to prevent diseases. Now, once you planted them, don't forget to cover them with agricultural textile so that to support them in those first days from too much sun, from rapid changes in the temperatures between day and night temperature, so that they can develop better. With this, thank you for watching. I hope it's been useful, and again, my next video is going to talk about pruning tomato plants to prevent diseases and to ensure better and bigger harvest. So do subscribe.